49er faithful, welcome back to another episode of the Gold Rush. I'm your host, Javen Takar, and thank you so much for tuning into this episode here. Today is a very special episode because we are going to recap the NFL draft that just happened just a couple days ago, maybe last week by the time you're watching this. So finally got the time to really think about some of these guys. Haven't really dug deep into film yet. I hope to get out more videos on the new fellas coming in. But overall, I am pretty happy with how the 49ers draft class went. Very defensive heavy, which I think is the weakest point of this team. You know, I think most of the weak spots are on that defense. So I'm glad they filled that out with those young guys, really getting ready for the future, really building for the future. So I'm pumped about it, man. I'm pumped about it. I know a lot of people were really hoping to take some positions a little bit earlier that we'll get into in just a little bit. But overall, I feel like they got a lot of really good players that remind them of players that they've taken in the past. And you'll see how I make those connections in just a little bit here as we dive deep into the NFL draft. From rounds 1 through round 7, the 49ers had, what was it, like 11 picks or 11 picks, something like that. It was something ridiculous. Had some of the most draft picks in the entire NFL draft. Didn't trade up at all, didn't trade down at all. They just stayed put with where they were and played the cards that they were dealt. And I'm somewhat happy about it. You know, you didn't have to give up any future picks. You didn't lose any picks this year because at the end of the day, this team has to get younger, and they know that. And so yeah, I'm happy with how it went. So let's dive in. Head into the first round, pick number 11. The whole question was, what do the Niners do here? Is it Kelvin Banks? You know, is it James Pierce? Is it Abdul Carter going to fall to I know that was some talk there that Abdul Carter would be there at 11. Or are they going to trade up into the top 5 and go for Mason Graham? You know, is Mason Graham going to fall to them? I mean, there was so much talks about what's going to go on here at pick number 11. And it ends up going Mykel Williams out of Georgia, defensive end. I'm not mad about it. Listen, come draft day, I was telling everybody, I think that Mykel Williams is going to be the pick. You know, I kind of hope it's not. I wasn't the biggest fan of him, but I ended up spending a lot of that day sitting and watching Mykel Williams film. And, you know, as much as I wasn't super duper impressed, I could see the potential. I could see why Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh, and John Lynch like this guy. Okay, he's very, very young. He is only 20 years old. He is an absolute monster of a man, standing at, what was he, 6'5"? 6'5", 265 pounds, and he is explosive. No doubt about it. He is explosive. He's got heavy hands. The thing is, what I noticed from him is he could stay on blocks a little longer. So I want to see him be able to shed off those guys and get to the quarterback a little bit more, which I do think he'll be able to do coming into the NFL, playing with this 49ers defensive line that's been totally revamped now. I like the potential. The more and more that I learn about Mykel, how hyped he is to be a Niner. You know, how in love John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and all those guys, how in love they were with Mykel Williams. I trust this pick a lot. I think it's going to pay out in the long run again. And I could see him being a defensive rookie of the year candidate. Really, a lot of people see the similarities with Aldon Smith. Hopefully, minus the off-field stuff. They wanted him to wear number 99 and look like Aldon Smith out there. So I do hope that he has that Aldon Smith in him, because I think that he has that potential. He's got a lot of, I mean, the ceiling is limitless for Mr. Williams coming in. And I think that Chris Kocurek and company are going to get the best out of him. Playing alongside Nick Bosa and what he's going to learn there. You know, Nick Bosa, he's got a lot of stuff in his pass rush bag. So hopefully he could shred some of that onto Mykel Williams, and we see him get after the quarterback a lot. So yes, the pass rush needs to be developed a little bit more, but what the biggest thing about him is he's a really good run stopper. You know, he's so big, he's so strong, he's so lengthy that he's able to control that C gap. He can even slide him into the B gap if you want, and he is not going to move. He is going to stop the run. And so I think that that's another reason why the Niners liked him. That's a theme throughout this entire draft class, stopping the run, as we'll see as we get into the later rounds. But yeah, Mykel Williams, overall, I give this pick, I gave it a B+, potential to be an A minus with how he develops. And I do think that it'll end up being in that A range because he is so good. You know, the Niners, they liked him so much, they wanted to trade up to get him. They didn't think he'd be there at 11. So it seems like the league-wide consensus on him is a lot higher than I personally am. And frankly, I'm going to trust what the league is seeing instead of what I see. But yeah, just the pass rush moves need to be developed a little bit more. And I feel like with this defense, the defensive coaches that we have as well, and the defensive players like Nick Bosa, hopefully he learns that. And I think it will. He is just he's a beast of a man. Second round, they go pick number 43, defensive tackle out of Texas, Alfred Collins. I really wanted them to address the interior. They come at it early. Boom, that's 2 key pieces on the D-line already. Alfred Collins, he's another big boy. 6'6", 332 pounds, and he is going to beef up that interior defensive line like crazy. He is going to stop the run there. He is going to sit in the A gap, or you could slide him into the B gap. He's going to sit there, and he's not going to move. Offenses are going to try to move him around. He's going to use those big mitts. He's going to get in the offensive lineman's face, and he's going to get a pushback. This guy's not moving. I really like this pick. I like it. He's got great gap control. The NFL.com player comp for him is Javon Kinlaw. Take that as you will. I know Niner fans might be a little traumatized with that, but I think Robert Saleh really liked Kinlaw, considering he picked him up in New York at his time there. So I think that this could pay out really, really well, especially alongside those other beasts that we've got, Michael and Nick Bosa, as I just mentioned. Again, another guy whose pass rush moves could be a little bit more refined, but stopping the run was the Niners. It seemed like they must have plastered that into the war room. Stop the run. Defense. It was just a very defensive heavy draft. I gave Alfred Collins, I gave it a B grade. I like him. I like getting defensive tackles, especially after losing Malik Collins, who I still wish was on the team. Collins these guys are gonna have to play instantly, which is a lot to ask out of rookies. Okay, this is going to be a defense led by entirely rookies and second-year guys mainly. So it's going to be interesting to see how those young guys really develop, especially if they go into the playoffs, deep into the playoffs. Will the lights be too bright for them? Hopefully not. Let's knock on wood there. Alfred Collins, again, I like that pick. I gave it a B. And then in the third round, they pick number 75, linebacker out of Oklahoma State, Nick Martin. A lot of people were like, what is this pick? He wasn't necessarily high on draft boards, and a lot of people hadn't necessarily heard of him, but he's solid. Once people dig deeper into who he is, what he does, he got a lot of fans. So pretty much this guy, he's a little undersized. He's 5'11", 5'11". He's a little undersized. He's 5'11", 220 pounds, but he's quick. When you're undersized like that, there's got to be something else to make up for it, and that is what he does. He's pretty good in coverage. He ran, a 4.5? Yeah, 4.53 40-yard dash. So I believe that was the second fastest linebacker. And he's got that dog mentality that the Niners defense loves to have. He's going to corral to the ball. He is what Dre Greenlaw is basically. Okay, he's their Dre Greenlaw replacement, their Dre Greenlaw answer. He plays with his hair on fire. Really good in coverage, and I feel like you draft this guy maybe a little bit higher than expected. And I feel like if you don't have a guy like Fred Warner on your team, you stay away from this guy. He's a guy that playing next to Fred Warner is really going to boost him. Okay, it's really going to help out his coverage. He's going to learn a lot from Fred, and it's probably going to be a competition for who plays next to him between him and D. Winters. I definitely expect probably Winters to start week 1. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nick Martin comes in, especially with Winters' health, where it's very hard for him to stay on the field for every single game. So if the Niners are smart, you rotate him in, keep Winters healthy, get Nick Martin that experience. And I feel like this could be a really good pick that pays out in the end. I gave this pick a B, maybe a B minus, just because, again, he's a little undersized and you're pretty much relying on how much he'll learn from Fred Warner. But I do think that he's got that potential to really be a big difference maker in coverage on this defense. And then to round off day 2 and the third round, pick number 100, they go cornerback out of Western Kentucky, Upton Stout. What a name. Put that in the name Hall of Fame. Another undersized guy. He's 5'8", 181 pounds. Probably going to be playing in the slot, but this guy can move all around. Western Kentucky used him all around their secondary. They put him at safety. They put him at slot. They put him on the outside. The Niners, they've got Deommodore Lenoir. They've got Renardo Green. They picked up Trey Brown in free agency. So I do expect him to slide in the slot. Deommodore Lenoir is such a good slot cornerback, but I think that you probably want to keep him on the outside there. That's where you want your elite cornerbacks. And Upton Stout, with that size and his mentality, again, similar to Nick Martin, plays with that dog mentality. He's going to corral to the ball, and I feel like it's going to fit what the Niners want to do very, very well. He reminds the Niners a lot of K'Waun Williams, and the similarities are there. Small guy. I think that Upton Stout's maybe a little bit stronger. He looks a little bit more built, maybe a better tackler, but hey, K'Waun, never forget 2019, 2020 K'Waun Williams, man. Oh, that boy was killer. But boy, I'm happy with Upton Stout. I think that he's going to be very solid for this team. Again, the potential is all there. It's just another good pick for your need, knowing how your defense plays. Definitely a Robert Saleh pick for sure, because we all know how much he loved K'Waun Williams. And definitely, I think he's going to be a slot guy for this team. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do try to move him around. Him and Trey Brown probably competing for that third cornerback position. I hope that, I probably expect Trey Brown to start week 1 again, but Upton Stout will get his time for sure. Just because that's usually how it is. I feel like the Niners, they always kind of sit their rookies for a little bit and make them wait. So we'll see how that goes. I'm excited for Upton Stout, though. I feel like he's a guy that's going to become a fan favorite. He's going to be fun to watch. He's going to be electric. Moving on, 4th round. Here we are. Day 3, this is maybe the best pick that the Niners made value-wise, and this is a big fan favorite. A lot of guys really were hoping the Niners would end up with Mr. C.J. West, defensive tackle out of Indiana. He is a dog, man. He is so good. And the 4th round is such a steal. This is just the perfect pick all around, and he's going to fit perfectly with Alfred Collins, Micah Williams, and Nick Bosa. Those two guys, man, CJ West and Alfred Collins on the inside, nobody is going to be able to run the ball on them. And if they try to go outside, you got to do a Micah Williams. Nick Bosa might be the weakest link when it comes to the run game on the defensive line. That's how crazy it is. Another guy whose pass rush moves need to be developed a little bit more. That's just the trend with the D-lineman that the Niners got here. But they're all really, really good run stuffer. And he is built, man. He is 6'1", 331 pounds of man. He is a big boy. And yeah, he's got that leverage because he's a little bit, 6'1". He's able to get under the offensive lineman coming at him. And I think he's going to really control his gap. Definitely going to you can put him head on to the center. You could put him into the A gap. You could slide him out to the B if you want, but I think definitely keep him as close to the center as possible. And yeah, this is just a great pick. He's going to fit what the team needs. A little reminiscent of DJ Jones, you know what I'm saying? I gave this pick a B+. I'm a big fan of this pick, and I think that he's going to be a dog in those early downs. And then they pick up 4th round, pick 138, Jordan Watkins, Ole Miss wide receiver. I'm not the biggest fan of this pick. Wide receiver was a need for sure. They needed some more depth guys. Watkins, he isn't the fastest guy. He isn't the most explosive guy. But he does fit what Shanahan likes in his receivers. This also being the first offensive pick of this draft class. And he's a yak guy, basically. He's not going to separate much, but if the throw's on target, the throw's right on him, he's able to turn it up loose. And, you might be able to get him in on some screens or something like that. But he's not fast. He's not the greatest route runner, but he can he can do most things just decently. Okay, he's a pretty much an average receiver. I graded a C-. You could argue it's a C. With the question marks of Brandon Ayuk, with DeMarcus Robinson being suspended, you got Juwan Jennings, you got Ricky Pierce, all that. Wide receiver 3 is a question mark. I want to see Jacob Cowing in there, but these rookie guys, they might have to step up early in the season. And again, Watkins, so he is going to be more of a yak guy. We'll see how he fits into the offense. If he's used, I think he could have a role, you know what I'm saying? But overall, I'm not super impressed with this pick. Moving on to the 5th round, pick 147. Kyle Shanahan got control of the draft room finally, and we got a running back out of Oregon, baby. Jordan James, he is pretty much the Jordan Mason replacement, he reminds me of. He's a one-cut runner. He's going to go downhill. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he can bounce off tackles, which I think is valuable, especially pairing along next to CMC and Isaac Grendel. You need that type of guy that's going to ground and pound just a little bit. So I think this is a solid pick. I was listening to 49ers talk, Matt Mayoko and Jeffrey Lee Chan. They were saying he didn't catch very many balls at Oregon, but on his Oregon's pro day or senior day, they were impressed with his pass catching. So hopefully we can get him in on some sets to catch the ball when needed, because that was one of Jordan Mason's flaws. He wasn't really able to catch the ball very well. He did improve on that throughout the years, of course. So hopefully Jordan James can come in and be an instant impact guy when he needs to get those couple carries a game. Short field, short yardage situations, put him in, and hopefully he barrels through some guys, just like Jordan Mason used to do. As we know, he got traded to the Minnesota Vikings. I gave this pick a C, just pretty average, pretty average guy. Just your typical Kyle Shanahan running back every year. Needs Shanahan running back. And then Robert Saleh entered the draft room again. And we got a safety out of Kansas State, Marquise Sigel. I hope I'm saying that right. Another versatile type of guy. And he is a lot like Malik Mustafa, maybe a little bit slimmer, but he's that type of guy. He's a missile. He's a heat-seeking missile. He's going to come in from the safety position, and he's going to knock a head loose or something. Maybe not the greatest guy in coverage, but with Malik Mustafa's injury, I feel like Sigel and Jair Brown, they might be the starting safeties. They signed Jason Pinnock in free agency, who is going to be more of a coverage guy. So I could see, Pinnock and Brown maybe competing for the free safety position. Sigel might be forced into the starting strong safety role. We'll see how the 49ers want to play things. Maybe they go Pinnock and Brown. While Malik Mustafa rehabs from his injury, he re-aggravated his ACL or something like that. I don't believe he tore it completely. He should be back, hopefully before mid-season. So, when he's back, I think it'd be very interesting to see him and Sigel out there. Both of those guys getting their gold helmets to the ball. But yeah, Sigel, he's a solid player. He's a very physical guy, and he fits what the Niners defense does very, very well. And that's aggressiveness. That is, making ball carriers scared to run the ball. Really, you got Fred Warner coming in. Hopefully Mike Kell is going to be going in there. Nick Bosa, and then Malik Mustafa coming downhill. Deommodore Lenoir, he's coming out. All these guys, all these secondary guys coming in and abusing the pass, the runner. I love it, man. So that's what he's going to do very, very well. I gave this pick a B-. I gave it a B- just because he fits the defense so well, just like a lot of these other guys. That aggressiveness, that dog mentality is going to get you playing time with Robert Saleh and this defense. And then in the 7th round, pick number 227, quarterback at Indiana, Curtis Rourke, more of just he's going to be more of a depth piece here. I didn't like this pick at all. It's my least favorite pick. I really didn't think that quarterback needed to be addressed. Niners, they've got Brock Purdy, they've got Mac Jones, and they've got Tanner Mordecai. I like that quarterback group. I feel like this pick should have been an offensive lineman because that's more of a key depth position. Rourke, apparently he's a solid guy. They were comparing him to Brock Purdy if he tore his ACL instead of his UCL, so take that as you will. He got drafted to the CFL, so the Canadian Football League. Very interesting situation. I don't expect him to come in and take any minutes or nothing like that. Mac Jones, he's probably going to be quarterback 2, Mordecai quarterback 3, Rourke, maybe has a spot on the practice squad, or he goes to the CFL. But yeah, I'm not very impressed with this pick. I gave it a D, a C-. I give it a D plus maybe. And then after that, though, 249, they finally addressed the offensive line. They go Connor Colby out of Iowa, more of an interior guy, but a versatile interior guy. I always bring up Daniel Brunskill, and how he was able to play right guard, left guard. They even put him at tackle for some games. He could probably even play some center. That's what I see in Colby, because that's the type of guy they haven't really had in a very long time, but he probably competes with that left guard position. Right now, I believe it's going to be Ben Barch, maybe Spencer Burford, and now Colby gets into that mix. So they're going to address that left guard one way or another, and it's probably going to be a battle in the preseason to see who starts week 1. I would expect Ben Barch. Okay, he played really well, but he is coming off of an injury. I think that Burford, they like being a swing kind of guy, putting him all around. And I feel like you can even argue putting him back at tackle. His arms might be a little short at the next level. But I hope Colby finds a spot, and I honestly would like to see him compete for the center position with Jake Brendel, okay? Because that position they didn't address at all, and I think that Brendel needs to feel a little uncomfortable in his seat. So I would really like to see how Colby does at the center position. I don't believe he played any at Iowa. I believe they just used him as left guard, right guard. But let's see what he can do at the center position, see what he can learn, what he can develop, maybe throughout the season. If something happens to Brendel, they can slide him in and feel comfortable. And who knows, if he's good enough, maybe he's the center of the future. So Connor Colby, I'm glad they went offensive lineman. I wish they addressed an offensive tackle at that Curtis Rourke pick, but it is what it is. They maybe feel like they needed a quarterback. Maybe they don't like Tanner Mordecai as much. And then finally, the last pick, 252 in the 7th round here. They go another wide receiver out of Montana here, Junior Bergens. I think it's actually a solid pick here for the last pick of the draft. Now, mind you, I don't love getting 2 receivers in this class. I think that Bergens is honestly a lot better for this team. But because he's a returner, okay? He's less of a receiver, more of a specialist, more of a kick returner, punt returner, which they wanted Jacob Cowing to be. So I think you're bringing in Bergens out and you're going to have some competition at the returner position, which is not a bad thing at all. He's a really good kick returner, okay? In the past 3 seasons in college football, he took 8 punt returns to the house. So I hope to see that spark, because the Niners haven't had a punt return touchdown in I don't know how long, okay? Special teams, punt return, kick return, I automatically assume it's not going to be a touchdown. So now, if Bergens can bring that explosiveness that he brought to the Montana special teams, I hope to see him do that on Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays, of course. But yeah, this is a solid guy. Don't expect him to get too many wide receiver reps, but he could do a lot of those screen stuff, a lot of the yak stuff that I feel like they would probably do with Watkins. They can do with Bergens here. I feel like Bergens just should have been the pick in the later round. And even with that Watkins pick, you could have got an offensive lineman. You could have got another defensive lineman. You could have got another lineman, another cornerback maybe. I think it should have been offensive lineman. So really, I feel like the Niners did a solid job this draft class. I gave Bergens a C, but it could go up to a B depending on how he does as returner. But yeah, I think if they could have gotten 2 other offensive linemen, instead of getting a quarterback and another receiver. I know receiver was a depth piece that they needed, but if you're going to go Bergens in the last round there and he does similar stuff to Watkins, I think that it would have just been a better idea to just pick up Bergens. Overall, though, I give this draft probably about a B, okay? A B, maybe a B plus. You're relying a lot of that defense on these young guys. Okay, it's asking a lot out of these rookies, but I feel like they got these mature guys, they got these aggressive guys, they got guys that fit their culture really, really well, and that's going to be number one into getting the most out of these guys and have them performing well with you. Do they buy in? Are they excited to be a Niner? And it sounds like they are. You hear those phone calls. Upton Stout say, "Let's do it, coach. Let's do it." He didn't even realize they were passing the phone around. I think he only thought he was talking to John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan. So it's pretty funny, and I'm pretty hyped about it. I'm pretty hyped. Michael Williams, welcome to the Bay. All these guys, welcome to the Bay, boy. We're excited to have you. I'm sure a lot of you guys are excited to see these guys out on the field, because boy, am I eager, especially Michael Williams, man. I think that he could be really, really good with this team, but just Upton Stout especially too. I think he's going to be exciting, and CJ West, of course, Alfred Call, like those guys I'm really expecting a lot out of. But yeah, that's going to wrap up this video, folks. My draft recap for the 49ers. How do y'all think they did? Let me know in the comments. I love interacting with y'all. I love talking with y'all down there. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that Curtis Rourke was a good pick? Or do you think they should have addressed the offensive line earlier? I know these are a lot of comments that a lot of people brought up. While you're down there, take a look in the description below. I've got all my other social medias, the TikTok, the YouTube, the Twitter. I guess you're on the YouTube. And hey, leave me a like and subscribe if you want to see more from the Gold Rush Podcast. I'm your host, Javen Takar. I will see you on the next one. Peace out.